So our next question comes from Adam Kondrasik. I'm going to guess close to that. Sorry about that, Adam. This is a fascinating question. I've given this some thought. He says, if petroleum is a fossil fuel, then how come Titan has lakes of hydrocarbons? How come indeed? How come indeed? If our oil supply is based on, ancient dinosaurs, which really, of course, is more vegetable matter. If all of the oil on Earth, if all the hydrocarbons on Earth, natural gas and oil, are the result of the compression of organic matter, and that the energy in hydrocarbons, it's a fun little thing to play on the progressives. Of course, every time you put gasoline in your car, you're really running your car on solar power, obviously. This theory is correct, that this is the oil is the result of decaying animal and vegetable matter of a biome over the course of millennia, eons. Then all you're really doing when you burn fuel in your car is you're burning the sunlight that had been stored and converted by the plants of the Pleistocene area or whatever. And all the energy on the Earth is, in that case, is solar energy. It's just been captured by plants and then stored by plants, compressed through geological time into coal and oil, and then released finally in your car. Your car's running on solar power, obviously. But there's the conundrum, and that is there is large bodies, oceans of hydrocarbons on Titan and elsewhere likely within the universe. Hydrocarbons are found in things like planetary nebula. Let me just stop and say one thing about planetary nebula, by the way. Back to the question about the fossil fuel. Why are there hydrocarbon lakes on Titan? No one's arguing that there were dinosaurs on Titan or that Titan's hydrocarbons are the result of ferns. Which brings me to the point of why I like this question. And there are many, many people. That's why I love this show so much, because and why I love the website, and I love the following, the fan base. I hate to call it a fan base because I'm much a fan of you as you are of me. And the reason I say that is because whenever I kick anything out there, there's somebody out there, scores of people who know more about this than I do, and I love to learn from you guys. So there is a theory, I want to say it's the abiotic theory of oil, that basically says, no, this oil supply is never going to run out because it's not generated by decaying organic matter. It is, in fact, a reservoir of hydrocarbons that are part of the structure of the universe. It's just one of the byproducts of exploding stars. That's why it exists on Titan and other places in the solar system, and that the center of the Earth, or at least a belt of the Earth's crust, has this in abundance. And I have heard anecdotally some stories where, I don't know how true they are, where petro engineers will drain an oil field, just drain it dry basically, and move on looking for other stuff. And then you find that they've refilled from below with a source that was deeper. If this abiotic oil thing is even close to being true, well, it's either true or it's not true. But if it turns out that oil is not the result of decaying vegetable and animal matter within a very thin layer of the Earth's crust, if there is in fact much deeper reserves, then oil is, for all intents and purposes, unlimited. It's unlimited because we don't appreciate area. If when you think about, well, there's, what are we going to do with all the world's trash? And you see these giant pits where they're putting all this garbage. You think, my God, look at all this garbage. Look how big this pit is. My God, that pit's gigantic. Look at all this garbage. Where are we going to put all this garbage? We better start conserving, we better start recycling everything because there's no room to put all this garbage. And then you realize that this gigantic pit, if you look at it from the air, if you look at it at 37,000 feet, it's barely noticeable that the entire wasteland between the Rocky Mountains and my home, the vast, vast western third of America, is one giant wasteland, and I've been over it at low level. There is nothing for hundreds of miles but just desert. It's not even pretty desert, it's just badlands. We do not appreciate the area of the Earth. There's more area to bury all the garbage that we could create in 100 civilizations over 1 million years. There's just so much room. And that's area. That's not volume, because volume is area times depth. And if this stuff is as deep as it might be, And as widespread as it might be, the volume of oil is so much greater than the area of civilization, because human civilization essentially exists on the surface, on a two-dimensional plane of the surface of the earth. If the oil fields are a large part of the area and also deep, that they have volume, you simply could do nothing but set these oil fields on fire and they would never burn out. You would never run out of it. That changes everything, because as this global warming hysteria just continues to fall apart, and they find that, guess what, the atmosphere is not as responsive to forcing by CO2 as they thought it was, because even the CO2 models in global warming understand that the global warming is not caused by carbon dioxide. The big AGW people will admit that it's not the carbon dioxide that's warming the Earth. It's the carbon dioxide that's driving the water vapor, and the water vapor does the lifting. So the only way they know about this is through models, through computer models. And if it turns out they get a variable wrong, they estimate it wrong, then global warming, if not go away, then is a % or 2 of what they think it is. And far smaller than external forces like the sun, for example. So if it turns out, just hypothetically, just walk with me on this, that oil is in fact unlimited and that it does not have any significant effect on the climate of the Earth, just think about that. Because as I've mentioned before, I think I did a trifecta on this a week or two ago, we have gotten the toxins out of most of our internal combustion engines these days, have been so superb at scrubbing actual pollutants, like carbon monoxide out, that the air that comes out of a tailpipe in a modern American car is damn near cleaner than the air that goes into it, frankly. And so it's amazing when you think about it, that all of this energy might be out there, natural gas, oil, and just be essentially limitless, certainly keep us going for centuries. And in centuries, if we had actual progress instead of progressive progress, in centuries we won't be burning this stuff anymore. We'll be smart enough to realize we need oil to make plastic. And when we make enough plastic, we'll dig a big ass hole out in the middle of nowhere and we'll bury the plastic. And then the bacteria will break it down, and when we're done, there won't be anything left. I mean, this whole thing is a giant shell game. Anyway, Adam, I don't know the answer to that, and I had a couple people recommend some books. It scrolls away in the social stream comment on Ustream, but if you want to email them or Facebook message me with some of these books on abiotic oil, the idea that oil is not based on biotic matter. It's not bionic oil, because we could make that oil better than it was. I'd love to read about it. But even if it's not, even if it is based upon decayed organics, we don't have any real understanding of what the power of 3 dimensions is: volume, the depth of an oil field, the size of an oil field. So in any event, the one thing I am sure of is that these eco-weenies are wrong. I pretty much got that down. The deep hot biosphere, says Astronerd1. Apparently Astronerd already taken. By Thomas Gold. The Deep Hot Biosphere, The Myth of Fossil Fuels. All right, I'll look into that. If somebody can Facebook message me with that, I'd love to get it. That sounds like really interesting. Okay, moving on here.